Hey, what's up, everybody? So, this is a little bit different from any kind of other video that I've done. Um, I mostly wanted to talk about the trailer from Summer Games Fest today. Kind of go over my thoughts, some things that I noticed because I rewatched that trailer probably like what 15 times already, just trying to pick it apart to find any like little nuances and stuff from it, and see if there was any like hidden things. So I just kind of wanted to discuss that. It's going to be a long video. Um, yeah, going to be a long one. Let's see if I can scoot it in. So, um, this all pretty much started. I don't know if anybody's like really been paying attention, but I'm pretty sure if you're a fan of this game, you pretty much know like what's going on and all that stuff. When like the last 7 days leading up to Summer Games Fest, they basically have been dropping like little developer questions from like the fans, little answers. It was like teases. People were speculating all the way up until today, pretty much when the trailer dropped, that this whole thing was basically just a lead up to that. It made sense. 7 days for Final Fantasy VII, and then it was 7 days until Summer Games Fest when they started doing it, and they almost had us. They almost had us, and then lo and behold, the finale dropped, and pretty much there it was, 3 minute trailer that, by God, like, and the whole trailer was pretty much just like a small tidbit of the game. Like, if anybody, like, if you know the original game, pretty much everything they showed was like everything leading up to June Harbor, and pretty much the furthest part in the game was Cosmo Canyon when they were showing Bugenhagen. Basically that little bit. So they showed off Bugenhagen. They didn't show off Vincent. They didn't show off Sid, which a lot of people, I've heard some people were like upset about that, but I don't know why they would kind of like, you know, fire off all their rounds immediately. They have like 8 months of pretty much a marketing campaign to lead up to, you know, when the game ultimately releases in early 2024, as they told us. They didn't give us a definitive release date, but they did tell us that it was going to be early 2024, which would probably be March. You know, I'm guessing because they did say winter last year when they showed us about it. It was like winter 2023, so people thought it was going to be in like December. But Japanese fiscal years are different than ours. Theirs kind of goes up until like March, I believe, and that's when their fiscal year ends. So they still count it as winter. So yeah, pretty much if you figured it out, you could get it all the way up to like 2024 would be when this game was going to come out. Because I didn't think that they would definitely release this in the same year as Final Fantasy 16, which is coming out in like a couple weeks. You know, so a lot of people didn't even think that they were going to start marketing the game, honestly. But yeah, but to I guess no one's surprised maybe at this point. It's a pleasant surprise. But yeah, so I guess I'll just kind of like talk about how when the trailer so the trailer starts out pretty much is Midgar's on fire. Ha, perfect timing because it's showing the pan view of Midgar City. So there's a big section of it that's like on fire, and pretty much the news are reporting it saying that like a tornado. So at the end of Final Fantasy VII Remake, there was a giant tornado, part of the whole like the ending of the game, which tore through the city. So you pan out, and then they show pretty much Tifa, Barrett are literally laying on stretchers. They're being like hauled off into the helicopter. Then they showed Red 13, and then they show Aerith, which everybody assumes they're dead. We don't know for sure. We don't know if they're just gravely injured or if they're dead. But it's implied that, I guess if you wanted to guess, they're dead. So it pretty much saying that it pretty much confirms. It confirms but doesn't confirm. A lot of people, if you've been paying attention to the theories of Final Fantasy VII Remake, which the game is pretty much split off into two different timelines now. because if you know, they showed Zack being alive, and Zack's not supposed to be alive, you know. And then, so pretty much they showed that he was alive. So like, there's, you know, that, so a lot of theories have been like that it's been split off into two different timelines, and I'm mostly explaining this for some folks that may not know, who might be watching this trying to get into the game that didn't play the remake. So this is kind of like, but anyways, yeah. So after that, pretty much it shows everybody's in calm, we assume, pretty much in the room where Cloud pretty much explains what happened in Nibelheim, you know, 5 years ago. He's explaining it. Well, you know, if you played the original game, you know that Cloud was the unreliable narrator, you know, because he was there, but the way he tells the story is completely different than what I wouldn't say completely different, but you know, he knows the story because he was there, but obviously parts of it don't fit. They don't fit if you know the OG story. And so like, yeah, so it shows them talking in there. Tifa's like, you know, kind of questioning it and stuff, and then they pretty much show Cloud opening the door. They all walk out. They show the world. Aerith mentions some things about how beautiful it is and stuff. Red 13 talks, and then they pretty much show like the gameplay bit where everybody's walking in the grass, and then Tifa's pretty much asking Aerith, yeah, just pretty much asking Aerith where Cloud's been for the last 5 years, as if she would know. Well, she did point out a lot of stuff, but yeah. So it really does, like, this whole thing just really confirms like the two timeline theory, and I've actually heard some people say that it's still just one timeline, which is an interesting theory in and of itself, which is incredibly exciting because Square Enix knows what they're doing with this. They know what they're doing. They're showing these little things that you know, hint at this thing, and then it gets everybody's like mind going where they're theory crafting, and it's very exciting to be like, you know, to get into this discussion again about Final Fantasy 7, because, you know, when the remake came out, everybody was losing their minds about, you know, Zack being alive, if he's even, you know, if that wasn't just like, or, well, obviously he was alive, but but everybody, you know, they're pretty much like this teasing. They're like, well, is he alive in the same timeline, or is it a completely different timeline? And then people were like theory crafting, which I'm on the side where I still think is two different timelines. Pretty much when the ghosts were defeated, the plot ghosts, as everybody calls them, probably the worst thing in FF7 remake, but it's funny. So like, we destroy the plot ghosts, it pretty much like destroys the timeline or something. Zack somehow survives his death. And then it's even further, the seeds are planted when Intergrade, the DLC, comes out. It's like after you beat Yuffie's campaign, they show Zack pretty much back in Midgar. He goes to the church that him and Aerith used to hang out at, and he opens a door, and pretty much she's nowhere to be found, but there's a bunch of civilians in there. And now it's even further enhanced by the fact that the city was basically on fire by the tornado, you know, that it's pretty much showing that, like, you know, Zack showing up, like, but it's weird because he shows up there, he's not worried about the fire going on in Midgar. So we don't know. I don't know if it happens before then or, you know, whatever, but it still just kind of further proves that it's like Zack's in his own timeline, and pretty much the main party is dead in that timeline, either dead or injured. You know, Aerith's gone. Cloud, they didn't show Cloud, so we have no idea where the hell he is. You know, so like, it's like, did Zack carry him back to Midgar, and he's still in his like Mako poisoning coma? You know, or he's still in his coma. He hasn't recovered yet. You know. And so it's like, so where's Cloud, you know? Like, where did he go? Did he die? Is he dead in Zack's timeline, and now Zack's the only one left? It's like, it's a lot of questions that I'm actually really excited to find out, you know? And a lot of people are upset about that, about Zack being alive, which I can kind of understand that theory because Cloud's character is very heavily influenced by Zack's death. Like, that's something I can understand because Cloud is the character that he is at the beginning of FF7 because of Zack. He's basically taken, if you don't know the OG story, pretty much Cloud is basically inherited Zack's like persona. So he's got like this cool confidence or something, but he's different. He's a little bit different. Zack was way more like boisterous and, you know, like a hero type, where Cloud's more of like the silent brooding type, as you can kind of see in this cutscene. He doesn't have a whole lot to say. He's just kind of like, and he gets these, you know, random headaches every now and then. And yeah, so pretty much he takes like the persona of Zack, you know, because in truth, Cloud's a big dork. Cloud's a big dork. He grew up at, yeah. But yeah, that's for a lot of people that don't know. But anyways, yeah. So it's interesting, like what they're going to do with that whole bit, because it seems like they're trying to set it up like Final Fantasy VIII, where Laguna and Squall are like these, like they're almost in like different timelines or whatever, but you know, and it's weird how they just kind of coincide and all that. But yeah, so I'm kind of starting to believe that Zack's gonna have some playable sections in Rebirth. I think that I think how it's gonna get set up is that you know, I think the main focus is definitely going to be Cloud and the party and all that stuff. You know, their pursuit of Sephiroth, as in like the OG game, and you know, they're going to go on that adventure pretty much. And then like at the same time, there's going to be like this other timeline going on with Zack that's involved, and he's probably going to get party members maybe, or he's going to be by himself. I'm not too sure how that's going to go. We'll have to see more, but I would imagine there would be a party. There's going to be a party for Zack. And so I think that like at certain points in the game, I think we might get like a cut or something, and it'll show, and then we'll get to play like a little section of Cloud, or not Cloud, sorry, Zack. We'll get to play Zack and his party, and then basically we'll get some like piecing together of that timeline or something like that, and then like there'll be like a revelation. We'll go back in the clouds and stuff, and then we'll have more there. And then like I think it's certain, and then ultimately it's going to end up, and I'm pretty sure it's probably going to be in part 3, where the timelines literally converge, and then Zack and Cloud run into each other, and then they pretty much like they meet up, and then they end up ultimately fighting Sephiroth together. Because a lot of this, I feel like, is setting up for like, say, a happy ending, you know, because if you're familiar with it for the OG game, the ending wasn't exactly a happy ending. I mean, they stopped Meteor, they stopped Sephiroth, but at the same time, like, it really didn't seem like that much of a happy ending. I don't know, because it seemed like it fast forward like hundreds of years in the future, where Red 13 had kids or whatever. If you saw it at the end, where he jumps up and Midgar's basically covered in plants. So it's like, okay, so did Holy Holy did its job, sort of, but it just kind of felt like it wasn't exactly a happy ending or something, because if you follow the compilations like Advent Children, Cloud never got over Aerith's death. Spoilers for a lot of people. Yeah, Cloud didn't get over Aerith's death, pretty much. It became even more broody, it seemed. And it I don't know, and then they did like Dirge of Cerberus, which we're not even going to talk about, but because that game is terrible. The compilation for FF7 is not really that great. The FF7 itself is fantastic, but the compilation games haven't really been that great, and they kind of redeemed it with the reunion game of Crisis Core. So, I mean, it was the same game, but they they made the game better, I guess you could say. I mean, they didn't change any of like the story bits to it, but it, you know, it is what it is. But they did sprinkle in like compilation stuff in the remake, which I think which was handled really good. You know, they brought Nero back, you know, the Deep Ground. They brought them back, and they did a great job with that. They made them less cringy, you know. So, and then there was like little teases of Genesis. Kunsel was there from Crisis Core, you know. So it was like, it wasn't like in your face, but you know, they were there and they made it like, oh, hey, that's cool. It's a nice little tie-in. So it's interesting to see what they're gonna do because, like, is Genesis gonna come back in Zack's timeline? Is that what's gonna happen? Is Angio gonna make a return? You know, like, it's the questions, it's the interesting bits, and it's like, you know, is Vincent even going to be in this game? Which I imagine he would, because I feel like this game's going to take us all the way to the Northern Crater, because it's 2 discs. They said this game's 2 discs. Now that doesn't necessarily mean like, woof. I mean, but but they told us that for a reason. The game's on 2 discs. They're trying to tell you this game's massive. It's going to be massive. So I feel like it's going to take us all the way to the Northern Crater up until the point where basically Cloud goes missing. And then Meteor gets summoned. And the execution bit. And it's all going to start with the flashback. It's going to start with the flashback and we're going to go all the way up to the Northern Crater. That's a huge chunk of the game. Like, we're going to go past Aerith's death, supposedly, if it even happens. Because I'm starting to think that that's not even going to happen. Because I know some people might get mad, or I don't know how. I'm not too sure how people feel about it. Would they want Aerith to live? Because there was people speculating that Tifa was going to die. But I mean, if you're basing it off the trailer, yeah, we got our death all right. We got everybody died. So it's like, I'm starting to think that there's something that's going to happen and Aerith is going to survive. I have this sneaky feeling, and I know like Aerith's death was a huge part of Final Fantasy VII. Like, it was huge because like her death, you know, was massive. Because I don't remember ever playing any RPG where like one of your party members actually dies. You know, well, you know, in Legend of Dragoon it happened, but that's a totally different game. But yeah, it was like, this is like the first RPG that I remember where an actual party member dies, you know. And then honestly, if you actually know, they wanted to kill off everybody but 3 of your party members in the second trip to Midgar in the OG game. Like, you would pick 3 party members and everybody else would just die. We're supposed to die in basically the airdrop back into Midgar in the very, very late game. It's insane. But Nomura was the one that changed that pretty much and said no. But yeah, it's pretty crazy. Like, this game is supposed to be like full of death or something like that. Cause like the ultimate message this game has is loss. It's about dealing with loss and stuff like that. So like, yeah, Aerith's death is a huge thing, you know, because you're trying to like get over that loss of like this huge, like, this character, you know. So then some people were like, well, maybe they're gonna kill off Tifa, which wouldn't make any sense because yeah, would that hurt Cloud? Yes, but it wouldn't hurt the entire world, if that makes sense. Aerith's death basically hurt the entire world, you know, because she was the one that can summon Holy, you know. And now that she's pretty much like self-aware, because apparently, you know, there's that theory which is all but confirmed, basically, that Sephiroth and Aerith are Sephiroth's his Advent Children version. So he's from like the future, you know. So like there's this version of him that's this super hyper self-aware version of himself that knows what's going on and knows what's going to happen, and he's trying to prevent that, you know. And it's it's almost like it's yeah, like I said, it's all but confirmed because at the very end of the game, you pretty much end up in the singularity, just Cloud and Sephiroth. Almost at like the very end of the OG game, you just ended up in the singularity, this 1v1 type thing, and they do this shot that's actually from the original game, and then they have their little fight. But but Sephiroth knows everything that Cloud's gonna do. He even blocks Omni Slash, which is the move that he uses to kill Sephiroth in the OG game. But yeah, and then he drops a bomb, says like 7 seconds, so it's like he's this super hyper aware. He knows what's going on, and Aerith even shows hints of knowing what's going on. She's like calling things out before they even happen. She knows Sephiroth's the bad guy, like even before anything, she even knows. And then like there's also hints at the beginning of FF7 Remake, how they have the thing where, Aerith's sitting in the alleyway, she looks over, she looks down like she's hearing things, or like she knows something's chasing her or something. And so yeah, it's insane because yeah, it's just crazy theories, but they all make sense. That's the crazy part. It's like they all make sense, and it's insane because I'm like super excited for this because a lot of people like don't like it. They're like, I don't like where the story's going. They're changing things, and it's like, do you guys really want to play the same game that came out in 1998? Like, I don't know. Some people do. They want to play that one-for-one remake, and I don't want to. I'm actually excited that it's an unknown journey. Like, we're still going to go to the same places, the same story beats are going to happen, like, the same major things are going to happen, but how they play out are going to be different. And I'm, like, all aboard it, I may not be, like, I may, kind of scratch my head a little bit about, like, Zack's being alive, because does that ruin Cloud's character development, Because that was a huge, like, Zack's death is a huge part of Cloud's character development. So it's like, is that still gonna happen? Is his development gonna happen a different way? You know what I mean? Like how Square Enix handles it. It's all unknown. We don't know what's gonna happen. But it's like we know, and it's great because people who played the original, they're playing this now. They're like, oh man, I know this stuff, but I have no idea what's gonna happen in Rebirth. And that's what's exciting about it. That's what's super exciting about it, and that's why I'm all for it. Like I don't mind that they changed the stories a little bit. It's like they still said it's going to follow. It's going to follow the major story bits. Like nothing's going to get changed. We're still going to go to Junon Harbor. We're still going to go to Nibelheim or Gold Saucer. Pretty much all those places that we went to in the OG game. We're still going to go there. And there's still going to be like, there's still going to be the characters from the OG game. There'll probably be even new characters too, because they introduced new characters in Remake, in Part 1, we'll say. But yeah, it's like I'm excited for it. It's just and I'd be sitting here theorizing for like 3 hours if I could, just be talking about it forever, just being like, oh man, this is what I think is going to happen. But yeah, like as I said much earlier, whereas like ultimately everything's going to converge pretty much in, Zack and Cloud are going to team up and fight Sephiroth. And I don't think Aerith's going to die. I didn't think that they were going to take that out. I figured that they were going to keep it in, but I'm not too sure now. I don't know why. Is it because seeing the party members, like the OG, like they're not gonna kill Aerith twice, are they? Like, so like what if in Zack's timeline Aerith's dead, so they pretty much just killed everybody in Zack's timeline, so that way in Cloud's timeline, or I guess the actual timeline or whatever, whichever one, like pretty much everybody survives, so it's like, interesting. I don't know. Because it seems like Aerith knows that she's going to die, because she's also said it in the remake. She told Cloud not to fall for her. Because that's kind of what happens. But he really doesn't. A lot of people say that, like, a lot of people try to do the relationship with Aerith and Cloud, say that they're the ones. But no, it's really Cloud and Tifa. because Tifa's the one that gets Cloud pretty much back to his old self, you know, and all that stuff. Like, I think the reason why there's like that relationship S type feelings between them is because Aerith probably sees Zack inside of Cloud and it reminds her of him, you know, because Aerith and Zack dated, for those that don't know. Yeah, and I think she sees that a lot in Cloud, and it's kind of like one of those things where she's like, and it just reminds her of Zack, you know. And yeah, so there's also other bits, you know. So it's like trying to figure out what happens with Jesse and Biggs, you know, because Biggs was alive at the end of the game, because they're all supposed to die on the plate, you know, the plate landing. Although Jessie wasn't confirmed to be alive. They just had her headband there or something, and her gloves or something, I think they were. But Biggs was shown to be like laying up in a bed. We don't know if he's in Zack's timeline, if he's in the altered timeline, or if he's in the timeline with Cloud and the rest of them, you know, and he's just survived. It's interesting because they showed these things and and we just don't know what's gonna happen. But yeah, and then a lot of people thought at the end of the trailer they showed a bit in the Nibelheim incident where Tifa grabs Sephiroth's sword, basically charges him up the stairs. Sephiroth steals the sword back and slashes Tifa. That happened in the OG game. It's still the same. Like, she was gravely wounded, but she survived. Her master saved her, I believe it was. But yeah, her master saved her and stuff. She survived, trained, I guess, and then ended up in Midgar. And that's what happened in the 5 years while basically Cloud was being experimented on for like 5 years, and he was in like basically a coma because he was stabbed by Sephiroth. But yeah, the Nibelheim incident is like the focal point of everything in the game, so that's why like I think the beginning of the game is going to be the Nibelheim incident. They're going to show it. You know, there's going to be like, you're going to play the flashback with Cloud and Sephiroth, and they're going to show that bit. And yeah, that's how I think it's going to begin. And then because they showed it pretty much at the end of there's so many names that I'm trying to remember them halfway through the video. At the end of Yuffie's DLC, you know, they pretty much showed everybody walking towards Calm, which is where Cloud tells the story, you know. He tells the story of what happened, which ultimately kicks off the main story of FF7, where they're chasing after Sephiroth. But yeah, so a lot of people thought at the end of the trailer when Tifa got slashed that Sephiroth was talking about, because he says a line where he's all like, "You know I killed her, right? Well, if so, then who is this?" You know, and then he's asking Cloud this question, and it's pretty much proving that Sephiroth is going to manipulate Cloud like he did in the OG game. He's going to be in his head, telling him stuff, making him believe things aren't real when, you know, he's going to be making him believe that his story is and he's going to make him start being, you know, untrustworthy of his teammates, you know, and it's probably going to be a center of friction because Tifa's going to want to because Tifa's going to be like, what? You know, because she knows that Cloud's not exactly telling the truth, but she doesn't know how to say it, so she's talking to Aerith about it. And so yeah, so a lot of people thought that Sephiroth was talking about Aerith's death in that thing, but no. If you watch the Japanese trailer, they actually say Tifa's name. Sephiroth actually says Tifa's name, so he's talking about Tifa, and so it just further proves that he's trying to mess with Cloud. He's manipulating him. He's trying to get Cloud to distrust Tifa. And I think that's it for the story bits of the trailer. Because they showed off a lot of story bits, and I'm trying to figure out, like, because mostly I'm just talking about stuff that's already happened. and I'm trying to think of some other things that I could point out that I think might happen, but at this point I don't have like a whole lot of information. I just know that I believe it confirmed the two timeline theory pretty much. And some people think that it's just one altered timeline where Zack is just like a step behind everybody or something like that, which I mean, you might be able to make an argument for that. I just don't think it lines up. I don't think it really lines up all that much. Yeah, it would seem kind of. I mean, it's possible. We could all be wrong, and it could be just a singular timeline. It's just altered or something like that. So like the path the main party's going on, and you got Zack following behind, or something like that. He's trying to find Cloud or something like that. Because I think his motivation, I think Zack's gonna end up getting motivated because he's gonna try looking for Cloud or something like that. I think. I think that's what's gonna get him to go on his adventure, because Zack at the end of Crisis Core was taking care of Cloud, and he was looking after him and stuff, and then he died. He basically gets killed just before Midgard, and that's where Cloud gets the Buster Sword, the giant sword that he's using. Yeah, that's pretty much the sword that Zack used to use. And he just kind of took up, and that's when Cloud's like, he crawls to him, grabs the sword, basically takes up his persona and stuff, and then we jump into like the events of Final Fantasy VII, where they're on the train. They go to the train to blow up the reactor. But yes, I just, yeah. The only thing I think right now is it's just like they're heavily teasing the timelines, I believe, and I think as more trailers come out, we'll see more. We'll see more, and then I'll probably talk about that when we get there. But I actually wanted to discuss some of the gameplay things that we saw in the game, or in the trailer, not the game. Sorry, but yeah, they showed off. One of the things that a lot of people, I myself, was very excited to find out. Dual techs, where if you saw in the trailer where Aerith and Tifa did like basically a team attack. Then Yuffie and Red 13 did a team attack, and then they showed Cloud and Barrett doing a team attack. So everybody's like doing like team attacks, which is excellent. It shows the party growing as a team, and it also adds a new gameplay element. So it makes the game. They take the gameplay from this game, which was fantastic, by the way. I loved it. I love the combat in this game. It's some of the best that Square Enix has done. And then we'll see what happens with FF16 when that comes out. But that's looking pretty neat too. So, but anyways, different game, different topic. But yeah, the dual text was something, an advancement of the gameplay mechanics. There might even be triple text. Who knows? That could also happen. They only really showed off dual text. But then also, if you watch the trailer closely, there's some bits in there. There's the one bit where they're playing as Red, and the outside area just outside Union Harbor, where he's spinning around. And if you look off in the distance, you actually can see Tifa and Aerith in the background, because the party in that game was in that shot was Cloud, Barrett, and Red. And so you see Aerith and Tifa hanging out in the distance, which it confirms but doesn't confirm. Pretty much like party swapping, which you would use the PHS, which is from the original game. That was how you changed your party members. So you'd be using the PHS to basically call in you swap out your teammates on the fly. So say Barrett, because Barrett can handle airborne enemies. Say that your party was Cloud, Red, and Tifa. We'll just say that. These guys are all basically grounded enemies that have mostly, ground tools to handle ground enemies. And then so you got an aerial enemy that comes in, and you need Barrett to come in there. So you just swap out, say, like Red or Tifa, and then Barrett comes in, and then you basically have someone who can handle airborne enemies, or Yuffie too, because I believe Yuffie had a lot of airborne tools in her gameplay for her DLC. So she would also be another airborne enemy. And then if Vincent's in the game, he's obviously going to be another option. So it's like you're given airborne options, you know, and stuff. That was probably my least favorite of Remake, was like airborne enemies. They were a pain in the ass to deal with. I mean, just throw magic at them, I guess, but they were still kind of a pain in the ass to deal with. But, you know, it's just kind of an example of something that's like, that's really cool, you know. So you have your 3 party members, and then you'll see your other party members hanging out in the back, and then you can just call them in. You know, say you want to do a team attack with Cloud and Tifa, and they're not in the same party. Just get Tifa in there, and then you can do like some team attack or something. But you know, I think it adds a lot more complexity to the combat, a little bit more strategy to it. Where, yeah, you're fighting a boss. You know, bring him in. It was really cool. But it was like, it was interesting because you had to really be looking for it, because the party members are far away. Absolutely far away. It's almost like you're looking at a Where's Waldo type thing, you know, and you're trying to find the party members and you spot them. Can you spot them? But we don't know if that's even just a thing, or if they're just there to show that, you know, to show that it's like, well, where's the rest of the party? You know, it just shows that they're there, you know. But I think it's going to be like the Final Fantasy X style type thing, where you can just tag in your other party members as you go. Because if they do add more, because there's still what, three other party members you're going to get if it follows that same formula. So you're supposed to get Vincent, you get Sid, and then you would get Kate Sith. And so that's the only 3 that are left. Because they, you know, obviously the ones that are confirmed are the ones that were in Remake. But yeah, so you would end up having all 7 members, 7 or 8 members. It's gonna be 8, right? Yeah, it's 8. My math is terrible. But it's yeah, and then I don't know if this was any different though, but I noticed this. It was something else I noticed, was when Cloud was in his was in Punisher mode, which is like, you know, if you press triangle in Remake, he lifts the sword up. He basically lowers his movement, but his attack power raises, you know, and then he also gets like a counter. But anyway, so when he's in Punisher mode, it looked like he was doing this juggle combo in this one portion of the video, where he was like, yeah, he was basically just slashing side to side, and he was like juggling 2 enemies. And I don't remember him being able to do that in the Punisher mode in Remake, because I was kind of messing around with the game to get this footage for the commentary. And basically when you do one of those moves, he just does like this wild spin, you know, like he spins it around. He doesn't go side to side like he was. So it's almost like he was getting like a different attack animation for that. So that's interesting. So I'm wondering if there will be kind of new attack animations for characters, or there will be new types of combat moves, like new kinds of materias. Obviously there's going to be new materias, but I'm wondering like what kind of like gameplay enhancing, if they're going to have like gameplay changing materias, you know. So like, because they did have some that did alter some aspects of your gameplay. So in like the in part 1, they had like the parry materia. So you were able to, like, instead of doing your dodge roll, you would do like a parry roll or something like that, and you could use it to block damage. And then they also had I'm trying to think off the top of my head which ones actually altered things, because I remember I used parry for Tifa all the time. So she had like this slide. She had like this little baseball slide, so she'd be sliding everywhere. It gave her like extra mobility for me. That's why I used it most on Tifa. And so, what they have? They had steady block. I don't know if that actually did anything. I don't know if that changed anything. I just know parry was definitely one, and I believe they had a. Oh man, what was it? Like they did have like the ability to counterattack, because I know Cloud had counterattack basically built in his kit. Like, he had 2 ways of doing counterattacks. There was like one move where he could learn the move counter stance, and then you use Punisher and basically block, and it was, you know, he could use it. That one was more reliable than counter stance, at least for me it was, because I think counter stance you had to time it, whereas in Punisher mode, all you had to do is just hit triangle and then just hold block and then wait for the enemy to attack you, and then Cloud would just basically counterattack. And yeah, so I'm just like wondering what kind of new materials, and if they're going to do anything with the summons either, because the summons were probably a weak part of part 1's gameplay. Because like there were some that were like incredibly broken. If you actually, I think it was a pre-order bonus, or I don't know if it was a deluxe edition. If you got Carbuncle, that thing was busted. That summon was busted. It was actually pay to win. It was ridiculous. Like, because I had Carbuncle, but I only ever used it once. Excuse me, my headset shut itself off. Anyways, but yeah, I used Carbuncle once, and I think I never used it again. Probably because I didn't want to use like DLC summons or something like that. Plus, it was really busted because it would like heal your party, revive your party. It would give you like reflect or something like that, or yeah, a reflect of some way. It was totally busted. And then some of the other ones, they either ranged from not very useful to almost useless, I think. So like, I mean, I used them kind of. Not really much. I mostly use them for stat sticks. You know, they gave you extra stats for your characters. But I never used Chocomog, not really. I mean, the one I use the most is probably Bahamut now. So I'm just wondering if they're going to change up the summons a little bit and then add new summons. Makes sense. It would make sense. Just interesting. I just want to see what they do with, you know, what they do with more of the gameplay. Because what we saw was a lot of like, oh yeah, this is definitely FF7 Remake, you know? But then they added the dual text, you know, and then they also had these like, little pips, I guess you can call them, underneath your ATB bar. And nobody was able to figure out what those were, because some of them would be full and then other times they'd be empty. Some people thought it was for dual text, but I looked it over and I never saw any of them get used. Some people thought your limit break was used for dual text, but I never saw it get used. And then sometimes they showed dual text when there wasn't even limit break gauge available, you know, so I don't know if that's necessarily a part of it either. So that's something I'm curious to find out, because that was new, but pretty much everything else on the HUD was the same. You know, you had your ATB bar, your life gauge, then you had the limit break gauge next to it, and then they just had those new little pips. And then I don't know if this was changed. I didn't confirm it yet, but Aerith's triangle ability seemed like it was different. I remember seeing it on her command menu. It was ward shift, and I can't remember what her triangle ability was in part 1. If someone can confirm that, put it in the comments, or I'll find out. I'll find out myself later on. But yeah, I forgot to look, because I wanted to confirm that, because I was like, I couldn't remember, because that looked totally new, so it seemed like Aerith got a new triangle ability, because Cloud stayed the same. I saw Barret, his was still the same, I believe. Tifa, I don't think they had Tifa's on there, but hers stayed the same. It looked like Yuffie's was the same, and then they showed what Red 13's was going to be. It's called Vengeance Mode or something like that. So I don't know what that's going to be, because I don't think he used it. I don't know if he used it in any of the clips, so I can't confirm or deny that. But yeah, they just, all I know is that I saw that he had that his mode was Vengeance Mode, which seems pretty cool. Oh look, his Nibelheim, it's burning, and there's Sephiroth. I'm glad I got this in the video, honestly. I was able to do like 3 chapters of this. Well, 2.5 or 2.25, because I only really got to the beginning of chapter 3. But anyways, Yeah, I'm trying to remember any other gameplay bits, but like the world looked incredible though. Like I can't wait to explore it. I cannot wait to see what they did, what they do with the world, with Gaia, because I believe it's called Gaia in Final Fantasy VII. I can't remember, because I know like in the various Final Fantasies, sometimes the world name is the same, sometimes it's different. They have unique ones, but I'm pretty sure it's called Gaia. But there was a. I do remember them talk. The developers they talked about. They said that events were going to play out differently. Like the main story beats were still going to stay the same, but how things played out were going to be differently. And by that I mean like they weren't going to be in like the same order. Maybe not. It's possible they like some will still be, but then some might be out of order. So we don't know exactly like. I mean, it's pretty much a given that we're going to Calm first, and then after that we'll go to the Mithril caves. Well, no, before you would go to the Chocobo Ranch. They did show the Chocobo Ranch. Oh yeah, speaking of that, they showed Chocobos too. So you're able to like once you get Chocobos, you can just call them. And they also had their own little abilities too. They had like scan and scour, whatever that meant. So they had their own little interesting abilities. So it also makes you wonder whether or not it's going to play out like the OG, where you'll get certain vehicles that allow you to traverse different parts of the map easier, where you'll get the tiny Bronco, the buggy, and then possibly the airship. That may not happen until the very end of the game. Maybe not. We'll see. We'll have to see what happens. Depending on it, that even depends on how far the game goes. So that would also depend on like what happens in the future trailers that are gonna be shown. And yes, so what else was in the gameplay that would be interesting to talk about? Man, I'm trying to remember. I've seen that trailer so many times, just trying to remember certain bits of the game, or just certain bits of it. Uh, I don't know. All in all, I'm super excited. I'm all aboard that hype train right now, cause like I've been waiting for Final Fantasy 16 to come out. I've just been waiting, chomping at the bit. It's so close. It's coming, and it's gonna be nice to sink my teeth into that, a new Final Fantasy game, because it looks incredible. And supposedly a demo's coming out on the 11th. You know, because there's supposed to be a Final Fantasy event that's going to be on Sunday, this Sunday. So that would be probably when the demo drops, supposedly. And then because I heard that you could save your progress from that to basically the main game. So yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. And then I don't know, so I'm all aboard this hype train again. You know, Final Fantasy VII's back, baby. It's back. Woo! So it gave me an excuse to play this game again. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I guess I might as well just be talking about that. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be doing an all boss, do some all boss videos. I don't know if I'll squeeze them into I don't know if I'll be able to squeeze in all the fights into one video, because I got to keep my videos under an hour, which is ridiculous because I do all my recording on my PlayStation. I don't have the proper capture equipment, which is also why you don't have trailer video playing in the background, why it has me just playing the remake instead, because I don't have the proper capture equipment to be sitting there doing the trailer. Otherwise, it would have been easier for me to probably pick it apart with you, because I could have just been like, oh, let's talk about this, and then just pause it there and then talk about it. I have to remember everything off memory. I should have took notes. But I digress. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm going to be doing now, is just doing like an all boss run of this. Get all the bosses up here on the channel, I think. Which includes the virtual reality bosses as well. I think I'm going to do that too. Just get them all up there. Just give me an excuse to play this game again. Because I started playing the OG, but I don't know, for some reason I just wasn't I guess I wasn't as motivated as I thought I was. Because I really wanted to play I wanted to play a Final Fantasy because I wanted to play some Final Fantasies before 16 came out, and then try to get some of them up on the channel. So I thought maybe I'll start with 7 and then like do maybe remake and then jump to like FF8 because it's been so long since I played FF8. I would like to play that again. I wanted to, you know, play 9, play 10. Maybe I'll play 10-2 again. I haven't played that one in ages. I think I haven't played that since it came out way back when. I haven't touched 10-2 since, you know, since it came out. And then I don't know, maybe you play 12 again. Hell, I'll play 15. Let's play all of them. Shit, let me get the pixel remasters. I've been waiting to get the pixel remasters so I can play 6 again, you know? And play 4 and 5. Let's play all of them. Hell yeah. The only ones I can't play and put on the channel are 13. 13, 13-2, and 13-3. So those are the only ones I can't. But yeah, that's kind of my project. But then once 16 comes out, I'm going to be doing the content for that. So yeah. I'm not too sure what I'm going to do with that. If I want to do a full playthrough, if I just want to do like just my first time fighting the bosses, or if I want to do like, I don't know. I haven't figured that out yet. But I thought maybe I could just stream the game and then just upload the streams to YouTube. I don't know. Maybe. We'll see. We'll see. Because then I should be able to upload more than just 1 hour's worth of gameplay at a time. Because I think if I was just going to play, end up playing 16, like, just only being able to upload, like, 1 hour at a time, I'm going to have, like, 100 plus videos on there. Because I'm probably going to want to platinum the game. You know, that's why I'm trying to decide. It's like, do I want to just show the bosses, you know, just do, like, the bosses. Obviously, don't put them in the thumbnail. Some people do that. That's a completely different topic too. I'm trying to fill in like 10 more minutes worth of gameplay or just chatting about. But I think I've spoken as much as I could about the trailer. Maybe I might just end off the video here. It seems like a good spot. Maybe right after Aerith runs away. But it's just like, all in all, like, I'm super excited. I'm super excited that we finally got a new trailer after a year, finally showing us more of Rebirth, because when the first trailer didn't show, like, it was like a teaser, they showed us a little bit of stuff, but then like Rebirth, it showed us gameplay, so we got to see gameplay. I'm looking forward to seeing more of that. Maybe I will make more videos once another trailer drops to talk about it some more. And Cloud with his flower, he's going to assault these soldiers, these Shinra soldiers, because that's going to be interesting. I wonder how the whole Rufus bit's going to play out, because they did have Rufus's voice in there. He was talking about how they're all linked to Sephiroth and stuff, so, you know, how are they going to play out Rufus? Is he still going to be like the giant douchebag that he was in the first game? I don't know if he was a giant douchebag, but he was cold. He was cold. And then, like, you know, what's the rest of the Turks doing, you know? Well, obviously they showed Elena, you know, so that was cool. She looked like a blonde Tifa. Some people have been pointing that out. They've been saying, like, that's blonde Tifa, man. So, yeah. But I think I've said pretty much all I wanted to say about it. Just gushing. I've been gushing all day about it. It's been a great day. Just watched that trailer multiple times. I'm just hyped for it. Can't wait to see more, you know. We think the next thing might be 3 months from now at TGS. So, Tokyo Game Show. Might be the next time we get some trailers. We might get a trailer for this game. Oh, that's a ways away. But yeah. Yeah, but for everybody who listened through this, everybody who listened through it, if you made it to this point, like, tell me some of the things that you're looking forward in Rebirth, like some of the things that you're excited about. Maybe throw out your theories, you know, your crazy theories, if yours matches like a lot of other people's, you know, because I think mine kind of matches a lot of like some people's, where like the dual timelines basically. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. Just you know, put it down in the comments, and then we'll you know, I'll definitely read them. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. If you guys got all the way through this, and I hope you guys are looking forward to my all bosses, which I think I'm going to do for all the Final Fantasies. Just do all bosses or something like that. Something simple. So yeah, hope you guys are all looking forward to that, and I will see you guys in the next one. Take it easy. Oh, just real quick, I'll let the rest of this gameplay rock. So yeah, I won't delete it all. So if you guys just want to watch the rest of this till the end of it, so that's up to you. If not, I'll see you guys in the next one.
Don't underestimate him.
Calling fire. Nothing to it.
I see him.
That it?
Confirmed. Target has entered residential area. Full lockdown is in effect. All units.
You're mine now.
Spotted. Moving to intersect.
No escape.
Enemy combatants, you have been warned. Surrender yourself to public security immediately. You have nowhere to run.
Into the line, punk.
I'm gonna enjoy this.
That's that. Enough. See ya. Time gets on now. Calling fire. Going in. Burn.
Move in. Don't let him escape.
HQ, this is Sector 8, Unit 2. Target is surrounded. Moving to secure.
Wait. I know that.
Guess Cloud won't be joining us after all.
No need to assume the worst. I'm sure he's fine. You saw him in action, didn't you? Guy's a soldier. Goddamn one-man army.
You think he's a keeper?
On my go. You had me worried for a minute. What the hell you been up to, huh?
Giving public security the runaround. That's what. Had to draw them away from the station somehow.
Nicely done.
Well, can't argue with results, huh? What?
Wait. Got a question for you all.
What?
Ever been attacked by an invisible enemy?
What?
Wearing robes.